I want to fight Anthony Joshua exclusive because I know that I will beat Anthony Joshua's ass. I know
he just got knocked out, right?
Yeah. He doesn't have a chin and he has no skill and he's stiff. And I love you, Anthony. We're friends, all this shit, but I want to fight.
Jake Paul just lit a fire under the boxing world with a bold and unexpected call-out. None other than former heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua. The YouTuber turned boxer didn't hold back, claiming he'd beat AJ's ass, and the internet instantly exploded with reactions. From disbelief to wild excitement, fans and pundits everywhere started asking, is this for real? Even AJ's longtime promoter, Eddie Hearn, couldn't ignore the buzz. In a recent conversation, Hearn brought up Jake Paul's challenge directly to Joshua, asking whether he'd ever consider taking the fight. Joshua's response? Calm, cool, and surprisingly open.
I'd fight. I mean, if the question was asked to Jai, would you fight Jake Paul? And there was,
I wouldn't fight him. I'd bash him.
Yeah, but he might do it. He might just do it for just for doing it for the sake of it. But obviously, we know. Listen, Jake creates massive events.
He knows AJ doesn't need this fight, but occasionally it's not about need. It's about sending a message. The money, the hype, the headlines, it's all on the table. Jake's name keeps echoing louder in the boxing world, and Eddie Hearn's recent comments only threw gasoline on the fire. This isn't just fan chatter anymore. Promoters are paying close attention now. The internet didn't stay silent for long. The moment Jake dropped his bold challenge, reactions exploded from every direction. And one of the most influential voices in the fight game had something to say.
Yeah, like, what about fight him now? He's like, no, I want to wait till 2026. Like, okay.
To put on weight?
Put all the steroids, every steroid they have.
So I would watch. Here's the thing. I would watch
venom. Oh, by the way,
Scorpion venom.
Rollo reached out to me, John Rollo, my boy, and him and his buddy Chemo actually own a company. He was telling me that sells this blue scorpion.
Instead, Jake wants to push the fight to 2026, and that's got a lot of people raising eyebrows. Joe Rogan didn't hold back, mocking the delay with a sharp jab. If Jake's going to wait, he might as well load up on every steroid known to man. The reaction from fans has been split. Some see it as a calculated move, others are calling it fear. But one thing is clear, Jake's not backing out. He's just buying time. The pressure, however, is mounting. When someone like Rogan is roasting you on his platform, the spotlight only gets hotter. Eddie Hearn wasn't impressed either. He fired back again, this time more bluntly, dismissing Jake's 2026 plan as nothing more than a stall tactic.
The only thing that was disappointed was he says 2026. I mean, that's like calling someone out. That's like me saying, LA Olympics for the surfing, 2028, I'll be there. Do you know what I mean? Do it in 2025 if you really want to do it. You're not going to get really much better at this stage.
Hearn even took a jab at the whole thing, joking that Jake's plan was like announcing you'd be surfing in the 2028 Olympics. Just talk with no real action behind it. He questioned the delay, pointing out that Jake isn't going to make some massive leap in skill at this stage. So what's the holdup really about? If Jake's serious, Hearn said, it's time to prove it. No more dodging, no more stalling. The longer he waits, the more it looks like fear disguised as strategy.
This is the first time I've spoken about the fight. To be honest, I look at it and I think Jake Paul against Anthony Joshua. I mean, look, for me, we'd do it for the banter. Do you know what I mean? AJ would fight Jake Paul. He'd fight anyone, to be honest with you. And if Jake Paul wants to step up and fight Anthony Joshua, he'll need the relevant insurance.
Hearn even said AJ would take the fight with Jake just for the banter, because that's who he is, always game for anything. But Hearn didn't sugarcoat the danger. If Jake's really serious, he better have the right insurance policy in place, because this isn't just another flashy payday. This is a heavyweight world champion we're talking about. One mistake in that ring, and it's lights out. Jake might be in it to entertain, but AJ steps in the ring to destroy. And Hearn wasn't finished. After laying out the brutal reality of what Jake would be facing, he gave credit where it was due.
Well, obviously, we know. Listen, Jake creates massive events, right? You know that's going to create unbelievable viewership, and no disrespect to Jake Paul, it's a straightforward night's work. But I like this calling out of Canelo and all this. AJ it's another challenge up there. But if they're game,
Eddie Hearn called it like he saw it. Jake Paul knows how to create massive events, no doubt about that. But when it comes to skill, Hearn sees an AJ versus Jake matchup as a one-sided affair. Still, he couldn't deny being entertained by Jake's audacity. First, he called out Canelo, now AJ. It's wild, but it's loud enough to grab attention. And in today's boxing landscape, that matters. If Jake and his team are serious, Hearn isn't dismissing it. In fact, he said it himself. Why not? Keeping the momentum going, Hearn shared a behind-the-scenes moment that perfectly summed things up. With fans constantly asking, media, swirling and speculation everywhere, Eddie found himself in the middle of the storm. So he went straight to AJ and asked, "What do I even say when people keep throwing your name into these wild matchups?" AJ's answer? Clear and direct. Hearn recalled, "I said, what do you want me to say when I'm asked about it?" And he said, "Tell everyone I'll fight anyone anytime. It's not a problem for me." No hesitation, no overthinking, just the mindset of a fighter always ready to go. AJ isn't chasing clout, but if it comes knocking, he's not running from it either. This wasn't about underestimating Jake, it was about showing that there's no fear in AJ's DNA. Hearn knew in that moment, if the right offer comes to the table, AJ will step in. No ducking, no stalling, just business, and it didn't stop there. Johnny Nelson, former cruiserweight world champion and a respected voice in the boxing world, chimed in on the whole buzz. He didn't pull punches, openly questioning whether all this talk was just noise designed to stir up the media.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so, did he mention any other name? Because usually the last name they mention, they end up fighting. I think I might be wrong, but don't get sucked in by. It's great publicity, and it's great talking material. But in reality, if Jake Paul is that delusional and that stupid to get him with AJ, to seriously think I can deal with it.
Johnny Nelson didn't deny it. This whole situation makes for great publicity. It gets people talking, creates headlines, and fuels the hype machine. But he had a clear warning for fans. Don't get too caught up in it. In his eyes, if Jake truly believes he can go toe-to-toe with someone like AJ, then let him try. But he called it exactly what it is. Delusional. The gap in skill, experience, and pedigree is massive, and no amount of internet buzz can bridge it. For Johnny, it's simple. If Jake steps into the ring thinking it's a fair fight, reality will hit harder than any right hand AJ throws. And Johnny didn't stop there. After labeling the talk as pure fantasy, he took a deeper look at the bigger picture. This isn't just about Jake chasing clout. It's about how AJ's name keeps getting pulled into these viral spectacles. Nelson, who holds deep respect for what AJ has accomplished and what he represents for British boxing, didn't sugarcoat the situation.
I'll let him do it. Get a lot of money for getting knocked at 5-0 out. In regards to serious matters, in regards to AJ and Dwight, and I just feel bad. And I always say, AJ's not going to like this because his name's always getting thrown in the mix. His name gets thrown in the mix because his achievements have been that outstanding. He's done that well. He's lifted British boxing that well.
Johnny Nelson didn't deny it. This whole situation makes for great publicity. It gets people talking, creates headlines, and fuels the hype machine. But he had a clear warning for fans. Don't get too caught up in it. In his eyes, if Jake truly believes he can go toe-to-toe with someone like AJ, then let him try. But he called it exactly what it is. Delusional. The gap in skill, experience, and pedigree is massive, and no amount of internet buzz can bridge it. For Johnny, it's simple. If Jake steps into the ring thinking it's a fair fight,
he's not to throw the boy under the bush, under the bus. And so I always mention him because that's the one I give an example of. But I don't think he sees that. And so that's why I say, he ain't going to like this because I'm calling his name again. He'll be like, why are you calling my name? Because it's lonely at the top. You achieved outstanding things. So common sense tells me Danny Dubois against Anthony Joshua, Parker against Usyk, and then whoever's left standing.
Johnny Nelson made it clear. This wasn't about throwing AJ under the bus. It was about highlighting just how far he's come. Nelson pointed out that AJ probably doesn't see it that way, which might explain why he's not thrilled about hearing his name brought up in every viral fantasy matchup. Still, Nelson stood by his point. When you've achieved what AJ has, your name becomes the benchmark. That's just the reality at the top. To bring the conversation back to boxing's core, Nelson floated real, meaningful matchups, Dubois versus AJ, Parker versus Usyk, and suggested that the last men standing should face each other. That, to him, is where the real spotlight should be.
Surely that can't happen. Let's put this in perspective, right? I've been on the couch for 10 years, 11 years, right? And I'm not saying this because I want to fight Jake Paul. I wouldn't. But I would beat Jake Paul. I would. You know, you might laugh, but you give me 10 weeks training, I wouldn't even need 10 weeks, really. I've just been around boxing my whole life. He's a big lump, though, and if he was to hit me, I could be in trouble.
Darren Barker didn't mince words. Even though he's been retired for over a decade and hasn't fought in years, he still firmly believes he'd beat Jake Paul. He made it clear he wasn't chasing the fight, but based on what he's seen, Barker knows the difference between levels in the ring. Experience, ring IQ, and timing. Those things don't vanish overnight. He even joked that if Jake somehow landed a clean shot, sure, there'd be trouble, but that's just the nature of boxing.